Hey everybody, Trendy John from Simpler Trading. Let's go ahead and get started with Tesla really fast. This is really important, guys. I am a long-term investor for this stock. I still trade calls and puts, naked puts, all that fun stuff. My analysis that I want to give you is based on typically a really high time frame. Last year, I want you to imagine I was in Las Vegas in February and it was the same nonsense. Price was moving down. People could not see through the trees, right? But the bigger picture was we were coming into a quarterly demand zone, and I know if I'm trading a quarterly demand zone, it's going to take at least 3+ months before I even start to feel a little satisfied. Last year was not easy. There was a lot of chaos, and what I know about Tesla is if you're trading it, you need to understand that there's going to be a lot of noise. Now, for me, I'm still not even fully allocated for 2025 in Tesla. So I basically am going to show you levels where I'm adding into the stock, but then I'm using other levels to trade around and at least try to help myself with Tesla. Okay. It's not been easy for a lot of traders. It's been very volatile. It's a headache, and I get it. At the end of the day, there's probably a lot of traders who are like, man, there's 100 different charts that look better. The thing is, I believe in the vision at Tesla. I believe in where they're going. And so I want to accumulate shares, but I also want to take profits when I get the opportunity at certain levels. So let's go ahead and go from a top-down approach, and we're going to actually start. Let's go over here, all right, to the monthly. All right. Now, far as the monthly is concerned, this is important. For me, there could be a potential, and I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm not really into shapes, but when I see something and I go, well, maybe that's a shape, then I look for traders like you who do understand them to give me like the ins and outs. Like, yeah, it looks like that shape. But to me, right out this looks like it could be an amazing cup and handle. All right, when I'm looking over here at the monthly. Now let's talk about what my focus is, supply and demand, right? So I'm a professional supply and demand trader here at Simpler Trading, and my job is to identify where bigger money possibly is. And we're looking for that bigger move, right? So big picture here, I'm going to tell you that's down here at around 270. All right. And the reason I know that is because we have this formation here, and you can see that we had this explosive move out of here. Now, the idea in supply and demand, and I want to show you really quick, is that when we get this structure, and some people go, well, how do you know about the structure? Well, it's really easy. You just go back and you study it since the inception of time. And anytime a news catalyst or an event comes out, what happens is boom, price goes up. And when we're looking at this, a lot of times those with money, right, are already in the trade, and it creates an imbalance in the market, an imbalance in orders. Okay. So you got this big buy block here that happens. And then what happens is that in this area right here, us retail traders are at a disadvantage, right? If you're not understanding how to line yourself up with the bigger money. So we start buying here, unusual option activity comes in, all kinds of different noise, and we start to attach ourselves to this big candle, and you might get, sometimes a little bit of follow through. You feel really good, and then you get the big pullback. All right, and then you get like a little bounce, and then you get a pullback. And the idea is that because there's so much imbalance in the market, we ran out of buyers. All right, and so prices, just like a brick and mortar, if you have a product that's too expensive, people are not going to pay for it. That's what happens up here. So prices then pull back, and what happens, unfortunately, is that the masses, retail traders, they basically run around in a frantic of spreading fear and doubt and complaining. Believe me, I heard it all last year, and then at the end of the year, while I was still holding my position, then everybody got super bullish, and we had like this really fun ride into the end of the year. Well, same thing is going to happen here. You're going to get people that are like, upset. They're going to blame politics. They're going to blame Elon. But the fact of the matter is, the sell off just basically gets rid of the weak hands and pushes price right back into the bigger money. And the idea is that we line ourselves up with the bigger money, and we're looking for this type of move into the end of the year again. Okay. So looking at this right here, it's very important that we go over a couple of these ideas. So the first idea was this green zone, which happens to be on a little bit smaller time frame, but also you can use some Fibonacci. Okay, so if you notice when I click on the Fibonacci's, we are identifying a trend. Okay, and my coefficients are anchored from here to here. All right, and because they are anchored from those areas, we come up with the coefficients 23, 38.2. The 23 and 38.2 are what I identify as a bullish channel of a trend that I am anchoring my coefficients on. Really easy to understand. So we are getting very, very close to what I would consider a very important level for Tesla to bounce at. So even on Friday, we pull back again, right? A couple more bucks. We're getting closer and closer to that 38.2. Bulls, you got to defend this level. If you can't, then we are going to continue to sink down. And then the level right here is very important to understand as well. This is the 9 EMA. It is confluent with the 50. This could as well be a very viable target to the downside, which is around 313, 310, just call it 300. Because at the end of the day, it feels like Tesla is like one of those hated stocks. So when they get the opportunity, they really punish it. So if we get close to 300, I would imagine a lot of people are going to try to push it into the 300 level. Underneath that is this big area of imbalance, as I was just saying, and we got the structure here. This is my favorite clearance rack, I guess you could say, for 2025. If we were to push into here, I definitely want to. In this case, I'll be buying small amounts of shares, as we get in here and down here, and then I'll load up on the call side in here. All right. And if I do really well and we get the move that I'm looking for, then I'll take some of those profits and perhaps buy more shares, or I'll just trim my shares as we're moving up. Just kind of depends. And if you're in the room, you get to hear me talk about it and all that fun stuff. So, what is the sentiment? Well, the sentiment right now is that, it makes sense that we come into the 354, 350 level. And it's possible if the 38.2 does not hold this week and we close under it on a weekly candle, then I'm looking for prices to continue to possibly push down here towards the 9 EMA. The next thing that we want to be thinking about is earnings, catalysts. Be aware of all different catalysts that can push price into these levels a lot faster. So, what I mean is, for example, the catalyst tonight, there's rumors that Elon is supposedly going to have some commercials during the Super Bowl for all eyes to see, right? And some of the politics stuff. Whether this hurts him or it actually makes it more bullish, let's give two different scenarios. Let's say that it actually helps. All right. And people are like, oh, well, I like what he said. I like what he's doing. It would make sense to me if the 38.2 holds. So if we gap down just a little bit and scare some people, and then boom, you get something like this, it makes sense from the level that I just explained to you. If for some reason people are looking at it as a negative, then use that over under of that 354 level, 355 really. And if we start to break down underneath there, look for 336, 318, and again around 313, 300 level. All right. So that is the monthly look here. And again, I really like the demand zone. Let's go over here and see if we can see anything else from a weekly standpoint. Okay. Here we are. Remember, we hit the levels that I wanted. We were happy, and then I scaled way down, and then I started this whole transition again. As I said, in February of last year, I was in Las Vegas teaching and showing people where I was buying Tesla at the money show. And again, it wasn't comfortable. There were all kinds of different events going on where he was basically, making people angry. It's kind of like the same story over and over. But prices were pushing down and they were pushing down into demand zones. Okay. Now, when I look at it from this standpoint on the weekly, I don't like the fact that now we're under or in the cloud. When we are in the cloud, and let me just go ahead and trace it. Okay. When we're in the cloud, I expect choppiness, a lot of volatility. Okay. That's okay. You can see the bottom of the weekly cloud. It actually falls right in line of the level 313 that I was giving you. All right. So, and you can see the 38.2 once again at around the 354 level. Now, the structure that I identified down here with you is the same structure that we're getting close to coming into tonight, tomorrow. So we have a lot of confluence here. Let me show you. Structure, big move out, 38.2. We also have this EMA right here, and we also have this increment here, 354. Lot going on here where we could see a bounce in Tesla. And again, the question is it a short-term bounce? Is it a relief rally type bounce? If you don't know what a relief bounce is, please watch the video on my YouTube. It's very short and to the point, and it will really help you. Okay. Far as levels are concerned, what do we need to see? What does price need to get over in order for Tesla to look better in the short term? That would be 406. If it reclaimed 406, everybody that was getting super short down here is going to get their butts handed to them. Short term, we have a trendy edge underneath here. I'm actually going to take some Fibonacci's and show you how to do this. So we have this downward momentum here, or we can go from this pivot high here to here. Short term, I'm not going to use this pivot up here. I'm actually going to use the last 3 weeks. I'm going to use the high, and let's just project that we could come down to 38.2. We are going to have to get up and over right here, which is going to be above the cloud again on the weekly, which comes in, give me 1 second here, about 386. We're going to round up, okay? So 385.20 is the number, but let's say 386. So bulls short term look a lot better above 386, and I mean that's a big move, right? We're at 360 right now, and if that happens from the 354 level, again, folks, that's a really nice level or a really nice move, okay? So that's what I'm looking for in the short term. You know, this week it'd be nice to see the green zone work. Last week, my big level was 380. They could not hold it. They broke down below it, and you can see what happened. All right, so I had some puts, collected on some puts, but overall, obviously, the equity has taken a hit. But again, I'm not fully allocated yet. I think I only have about I think it's 36,000, 40,000, something like that in it. And so my full allocation, we're probably about a third of the way, or maybe, you know, closer to half. It just kind of depends on how much money I want to put into Tesla this year. But I'm like probably 33%. Let's say that 33% allocated into the name right now. All right. And again, things can change. So that's from a weekly standpoint. Let's now go into the a daily and take a look here. We're underneath the 50 SMA. All right. We have a 200 SMA way down here at 267. This is in line with a gap fill. All right. You guys can see that. Again, a very strong level. That means things would just like break through a lot of the levels that I just went over with you. It wouldn't be very pretty, but it was kind of the same way last year. You know, like I said, maybe note to self that Tesla is not really a great strategy to get long in February, unless you're just playing short-term bounces. Okay. Again, things can change. So, anyways, we're at the demand zone. We're at levels. We continue to push down. You've heard why I said that possibly this is a buy the dip right in here. But if we can't get over that 386 level, it continues sideways to down until proven otherwise. Um, Currently, I'm sitting in some, again, long-term shares, but I'm also in, give me 1 second here, 21 February, I had the 350 puts. All right. So 350 puts, and that's just, you know, if this thing really wants to break down, then we'll get paid. Not a big deal. All right. If we start to show some value over 386, and we can continue to push up, like I said, the next level is 406. I don't really see this getting over 406, but you just never know. And when I say that, I don't see it getting over 406 anytime soon. All right. But again, really, really important levels. Understand your catalyst, know where you're at with Tesla. It's going to get volatile. Let's have some fun. If you got any questions, please reach out to me.